When players get down to the question of what should I buy, do I buy a new play booster box or do I finally buy the dual land I've always wanted? When Wizards has the prices spiking this hard, players are going to make that decision for them. Value for dollar is a driving motivator in Magic the Gathering. It's not just the gameplay, it's making sure you get best bang for your buck, and we see this time and again with all kinds of set releases and players deciding which cards to buy and which ones they think are going to fall in price. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel today. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoy today's content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. New content every single day. So what are we talking about when we're looking at nostalgia and value for dollar and what Wizards of the Coast has been ramping up basically since 2020? Prices continue to rise. The further they rise, the more attractive older cards start to look because they've been falling in price and look much more affordable versus newer products that Wizards of the Coast is releasing. Yes, Wizards of the Coast is probably going to go the power creep route at some point later and try to outdo some of these amazing iconic Magic the Gathering cards, but that doesn't stop the nostalgia factor and it doesn't stop players who want to double up on that new card as well as get the older card. Now, in particular, we've noticed a real ramp up with dual land sales in the last 30 days. Week over week on my reserve list top 10 every Sunday, you see these dual lands keep creeping in there now. And the sales volumes have started to grow. So I started checking around to see how many other reserve list cards are starting to sell. How much action are we seeing in other cards that may not make a top 10 list, but are actually having an impact in different markets. And let me tell you, it's kind of interesting to ask the question and see what stores tell you. And a lot of these stores don't have the stock at all. There are some cards on wish lists. There are some cards players just kind of are curious about the price and are putting it out there to the store. If this card comes in at this price, I do want to buy it. But for the most part, the smaller stores cannot participate in this lowering market volume we've been seeing. They don't have the stock. They sold out and they haven't been able to get new cards in because they're not paying enough money. So what does that mean? Players are not buying from those stores. They're buying from secondary market sources. They're buying from the eBays, Facebook groups. They're buying in an alternative way, which means it is not being captured by things like MTG stocks. I've mentioned this a few weeks back, but the closer we get to the end of the year, the more you can start to see that players realize that play boosters are coming down the pipeline, and that little ratchet up in price has players realizing they can get a dual land for every box of a play booster they don't buy. And not just some low-end dual land. In some cases, spending $160 on let's say Savannah, right, or a scrub land means you can get two of them almost for the box of a play booster, right? That is kind of crazy to think that you are getting those kind of deals now in dual lands, depending on condition and where you're buying your play booster box. Of course, there are different prices and import fees and taxes around the world. In the U.S., you probably won't get that good of a deal because you have the lowest price on the market. But when we're seeing players actually consider this, it's not like it's some imaginary thing where you go, oh, it's just a couple players. It's not. Players who enjoy the game and have always wanted these cards, I noticed it the last couple of weeks, and it's becoming readily apparent that the price point that Wizards has set for their products is starting to turn players away. Not from the game itself. Players realize that inflation and stuff comes this way, but it's taking money out of the pocketbook of Wizards of the Coast. Players are speaking with their wallets and saying, there's no point in buying it. I can just wait, pick up the singles I need. I'm going to engage in maybe a pre-release, but now I can go and get that amazing Underground Sea for $500 just by not buying 2 collector boxes. Crazy stuff, guys. And when you look at the amount of reserve list cards, and the decent ones, not just the low-end stuff, decent reserve list cards that have continued to fall in price, making them just ever so slightly more attractive, and not just to players who may have just found out about them or finally realized they can afford them, but also from the players who are the bigger whales, the 6-7 figure income players who go, I might as well buy some. It's just such a ripoff. I have nostalgic tendencies towards some of these cards, and I'm going to buy them now. I remember seeing them in high school. I don't care. I've got the cash. Prices are at an all-time low for me anyway. I'm going to buy them. And you can't discount that, because I've seen that time and time again where you have players who have left the game and come back, or they were already kind of bigger players but didn't have full play sets of stuff, now dipping their toes in the market and saying, I'll go ahead and get that Mox Emerald, Mox Ruby, Mox Pearl. These cards are almost back to where they were at 2018, which means it's a pretty good bargain price for me in my particular situation, so I'm going to buy them. It doesn't even matter if they're going to play with them, guys. They might just be collecting them to put them on a shelf and display them as a conversation piece, but a lot of these players are seeking them out to play older school formats, which they consider a lot more, I don't know, nostalgic for them. It's the easiest way to term it like this, because when I see players buying these things, and I see like even $20,000 moving, buying 5 or 6 different pieces of power and some other cards, it's not something that I can indulge in, but that doesn't mean that other players can't, because they have higher income brackets. Now, what does this mean for the reserve list? What does this mean when we're looking at players who are buying these cards? Well, the cards won't continue to sell. After that player buys them, they're not going back and buying again generally. These players are ones who want the one-offs. They're not speculators. They want to own the cards, and they've desired them for a long time. Nostalgia's kicked in, and they got it. The air plays buying the dual lands, they're taking advantage, again, as a one-off, usually for commander decks it appears to be, because it's 1 and 1 and 1 of a whole bunch of single dual lands, because the prices are attractive to them. Those cards moving are heavily played. They're moderately played. They're not the near mints. They're not the gradables. Those are not the speculators. They are the players finally being able to afford them, which is great for everyone. Having a new player finally get their hands on a dual land is amazing, and players can rationalize that price more. Not the 6 and 7 figure people, but just those people who have a day-to-day job making $40,000, $50,000 a year. They can now justify the price, because when you got cards like Sheoldred, Ragavan at $50 to $100, a whole bunch of $20, $30 cards, they realize they can trade some of these in, a little bit of cash, skip a couple of coffees, and before you know it, you've got your first dual land, which you're never going to trade away, and you can add to a commander deck. This is what Wizards of the Coast has done by pricing things the way they have, by moving that market needle in that direction. They've now allowed players to think of other possibilities, to decide how much they desire a box of something or a whole bunch of singles versus a reserve list card that's kind of been on their bucket list for a long time. And it doesn't have to be a dual land. We're talking Tabernacles of Pendlevale, the Abyss, any of the Four Horsemen sets that have good, decent cards. And when you're talking low-end reserve list, some of these cards which are not actually low-end, like City of Shadows, maybe a second-tier card, but definitely playable. Getting it for $30 on TCG Player is insane to some people. Just earlier in 2023, that card was over $200. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. If you're a player who wants a near mint copy, it's like $65. It's less than his Sheoldred the Apocalypse right now. And you know she's getting reprinted, and you know that card's not. And it does get play. It does see commander play. I have in some of my decks right now. This is where we've led ourselves. Volrosh Stronghold, $70. That thing puts creatures back from your graveyard on top of your library. Winding Canyons, play your creature spells as an instant in any deck you like. The possibilities are there, and the prices are so good. The players can't help but look over their shoulders and think about it. And for players who are new to this channel and maybe didn't know about any of these cards or haven't discovered cards like this, it always pays to look around, have a viewing on the reserve list, see which cards fit into your type of deck motifs you're working on. Because the prices the way they are, either Wizards is going to do one-offs that are better very soon within the next 5 years. That's what very soon means. Or you're going to see the card prices shift as more speculators take notice of the market movements. Because it can't keep up like this. Like, there's not that many dual lands in flux at these price points. Eventually, something has to hit, and that's where I think things are going to be very interesting going into 2024 to see what Wizards gives us with these new worlds and new creations, because they do look very interesting. It's the price point that will turn players away. And when players can think of other cards they would rather have that have a little more marketability and a little more strength and standing because they don't get devalued, players look for the value as much as the gameplay. They go hand in hand. No player wants to build a deck and have it devalued half a year later. They just don't want that. They want to know that they've spent the money and it's going to last for a long time. That it was a good game piece investment that at least goes a few years before getting a reprint, and Wizards is at the tail end of these mass reprints, but they're still doing it for the moment. Modern Horizons 3 will be a big telling on how they do in 2024. It'll be a big showing, but for a lot of players out there, it's too late. They've already bought the reserve list card they want. They said, I'm just going to batten down the hatches and not spend as much cash. And now I come out ahead because I finally got my Underground Sea. I got my Volcanic Island. I finally went and bought even something that's not reserve list. Like, I went and got a Beta Soul Ring because I could afford it now. That's where some players are at. Either way, I want to know, are you buying reserve list cards? Are you not buying? Are you one of the players out there that says, I'm only proxying stuff, I'm not buying anything? Any conversation piece that leads down this road of nostalgia, value versus dollar, why you do what you do, I want to see that stuff in the comments section. Love reading it. And here at the end of the video, we're like 10 minutes in. A Merry Christmas, a Happy Holiday to everyone if you made it this far. Thanks for tuning into the channel every day. It's Christmas Day here about this point, right when you're watching the video. You're probably opening gifts with the family, and now you're tired and you're kicking back watching the Mox Man. I hope you're having a great time. Of course, there'll be videos up the entire Christmas holidays, don't worry. And for those players out there who are new, thanks a lot for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. Have an awesome day. And yeah, don't forget to use my TCG affiliate link. It does help the channel out. It's in every description of my new videos. Just the last week or so, you click that link, takes you to TCG Player if you're buying any cards. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day. And a big shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons we have supporting the channel each and every day. A Merry Christmas, a Happy Holiday to all my amazing patrons and YouTube membership members. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for being such amazing supporters. Oh yeah, you're here at the Ramble Jamble. You made it to the end on Christmas Day. Yes, this is being filmed on Christmas Eve. I get it. It's the day before. I can't plan everything perfectly. I'm probably being tortured right now with relatives and in-laws and having something akin to a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Maybe a Christmas story with the old man. Who knows? But either way, thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Big boomstick edition to all you guys out there. Thanks for tuning in every day. I hope everything's going fantastic wherever you are. Hope you're enjoying yourselves, having fun with friends and family. And if you're just by yourself, chilling out, playing some Magic, I hope that's going well. Guys, have an awesome one, man. I'm so lucky to be here with you guys. I look forward to seeing you each and every day. It's amazing. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another video. That's the end of your Ramble Jamble. Now go! Eat some eggnog. Drink some eggnog. Have some eggnog. I don't like eggnog.